here's the thing. Storytelling, just so you know, it works. And it has worked since time. But it also works if you're out for good, but it works if you're out for evil. I'll give you a couple examples. Hitler, great storyteller, amazing storyteller. Osama bin Laden, amazing storyteller. You found yourself inside the story they were telling at the time they told that story. That's how they got people to do what they wanted to do. I mean, in certain cases, a lot of people, right? So I know the effect of storytelling. And whenever that side comes to me, I say absolutely not, because I know the effect that they can have.
He was the only good-looking guy that want to crash.
He was a headhunter. He was a cheap shot artist.
So leave this one alone. You can tell right away.
Bo Eason, hard hitter. Bo would run into a brick wall.
Oh, he got his bell rung too, though. I mean, he is hurt.
You can see Eason at the bottom of the screen through that right leg and ankle. That is really gruesome. It hurts to watch.
Chuck Connors, Jim Brown, Marvin Hagler, and many others now add another former pro to the swelling ranks of athlete turned actor.
They're going to say, oh, we're going to see a football player do his autobiography. You know, he'll be lucky if he can talk. Bo is a true actor. This is a true acting piece.
Went to see a show last night, Run to the Litter.
Oh, yeah?
Down on 28th Street. Amazingly great. Bo Eason.
Yeah, I can't sit through a lot of plays. This was an awesome, awesome play.
It's such an insight into the human spirit and the dark side that we don't see.
I'd really like to branch out into this public speaking.
Bo is intense, he's present, he's alert, he's alive, he's a storyteller.
Move with a purpose. If you move with a purpose, you collide with your destiny.
Please help me in welcoming the man who has been called the greatest speaker to grace the stage in decades, Bo Eason.
Bo, are you there?
I'm here, Michael. What's up, man?
There he is, my man. Oh my
How
God.
are you?
Every time I hear that phrase, cheap shot artist, I just want to laugh because it's like, wait a second, are we talking about the same guy? What's up?
I know. It's like, you know, when you put that uniform on, your personality completely changes, right? So it's funny. My kids, they think I'm really nice, right? And so when we're around my ex-teammates, they'll tell them stories, you know, and the stories are dark, you know, like getting voted dirtiest player in the NFL one year. And then my kids are like, my dad? And they're like, yeah, he was really nasty. But once you leave the field, you know, you take the uniform off, then it's all back to being a choir boy now. And then you put the uniform on, go back on the field. Now it's, you know, all bets are off now. So it's a double life.
Well, first of all, I want to thank you for joining us today. You know, everybody knows this was a last minute substitution, but at the same time, you're a guy who gets booked years in advance. And so just the fact that we could talk to you today is really an honor and a privilege. And so please know how much we appreciate that and how much I appreciate it.
Thank you, Michael. Thanks for thinking of me.
Yeah. I want you to know what playing field we're on right now, so you can get on the field with me and with us.
Okay.
So there's about 40 of us in Tempe, Arizona. You've been in this room before. There's 84 people online, right? So there's about 125 people with us right now. And I promised this room, I promised everybody online and in the room that I was committed to what Joe always promises, which is a 10-time return on your investment of 25, which in the investment, as you know, $25,000. So I want you to know I'm on a playing field right now, committed to that type of return on investment throughout these 2 days. And I would say that amount is available in every segment of the 2 days, right? Either in a tangible result that could be measured or in some outcome in their life. As you know, there's outcomes in your life you can't pay for. And those are the, no matter how many millions you got, you can't pay for better health, better relationship, better relationship with other people, better relationship with yourself. So the kind of outcomes I'm talking about, right? So that's the field I'm on. I know you can get on that field with me, just so we're committed to that outcome, even in the time we have together. Cool?
Yeah, sounds great. Love that.
Okay. So, and a lot of people here have heard you share stories, and you're one of the great storytellers on the planet. This is an area of your mastery. But I want to talk to you about a couple things that I know you're passionate about. One is story, and the other is being the best.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yep.
So, and we've all heard, storytelling has been around as long as humans have been able to speak, maybe even before then with cave drawings or whatever. But storytelling is very much a part of the human condition and a part of what fascinates humans. And I think businesses are catching on. You're one of the very important messengers in the world who I think was way, way, way early on this. But still help us understand the power of a story. You know this so well, and why it's important for people to have that resonating story that just stops people in their tracks. How does that work?
Yeah, well, it's, if you look around the world right now, especially in our country and other countries, we are so trust depleted, like all-time high. Gallup does a poll every year, and they measure the trust of, and this is here in America, they measure the trust of America. And this was before the pandemic, the last I saw, the last Gallup poll, and it was at its lowest level that it's ever been. Well, what do you think it is now after the last 18 months or so? It is so low that we're not trusting the things that we always used to trust, which is like, I remember trusting Walter Cronkite when he said we landed on the moon. I remember that. We trust people in white coats, right? We trust celebrities. We trust leaders. Now we don't. It's at the very lowest. And who is going to be the one, right? So I'll just say it's going to be us here today, right? Who is going to be the people that restore the trust that has been eroded over time? That is the storyteller. Because right when somebody opens their mouth and they begin to share a personal story about them, about their life, the trust level for the audience now ticks up. And they start to drop their guard. You can feel it, you start to feel it already. If I started this, Michael, by saying, hey, you guys, I've got this daughter. Her name's Eloise, and she's 17, just turned 17. Right when I say that, everybody's trust level goes like this. Oh, that's like me. I had a daughter, she was 17 once, or I never had a daughter, and so I miss having a daughter. It doesn't matter if they have an Eloise or not. The trust level, their guard starts to drop and the trust level goes up. So now we start to connect with each other because you're seeing your life inside of the storyteller's life. And in this case, that's me, right? So if I say I got a son, his name's Axel, he's 14, you see your son, not mine. You're now in your own life, which is where every audience wants to be. They want to be put into their own life. The only way to do that is to share something personal about you. And in this world, if indeed we're at the lowest level of trust that there's ever been, there's only one group that can restore it. That is the storyteller. So we better get on that, and we better get on it now if we intend to lead this world going forward.
Yeah, I love that. And I was sharing with the group earlier this morning, Bo, about a view that I have of storytelling, and you just mentioned it, which is that there are times when the story of the person telling this, like I was never in the NFL. The odds are I never will be. And But when I hear you talk about your journey to having that happen and being one of the best, I can locate my life in your story. Like I'm learning about you, but at the same time, it's a mirror. It's a mirror. What's the difference between telling a story in such a way that the person learns about you and it serves as a mirror versus I heard a story and I couldn't even find myself in it? Is there a difference?
Yeah, because if you know the difference. I mean, we're all really alert, present human beings. So we recognize somebody who is bragging or trying to tell a story to brag. Like if I came on here and I go, hello, everybody at Genius Network. Hello, I'm a former NFL player. You're like, F you, man. You don't care. No one cares. They care about what moves the dial, like how you got there. How was that a dream when you were a kid? Was there a lot of obstacles in the way? What are the odds of somebody becoming that kind of player? If you start to expose those things and it's very personal to you, like if I was to tell you that story, I would say when I was 9 years old, I had this dream, you guys, and I stole some school paper and some crayons and I drew up this 20-year plan. And I followed that plan for 20 years. And the whole way, everybody said, no way, Bo, you're too small. You know, pro players don't come from this city. No pro players come from the high school you came to. No pro players come from the college you come from. That's not going to happen. And I say, oh, but it's still my dream. That's personal to me, you guys, but it puts you in your life. Isn't that weird? Like it puts my butt, Bo's butt, at risk because it's personal. If you share things from a distance, like you've got distance. You know who does this all the time? Who we don't trust. The news media does this and politicians do this. Nothing's personal to them. So when you see them talk, and you know they must have authority because they're standing behind a podium or behind a desk with, a lot of graphics and they're well known. Why don't you trust them? Why don't you listen to them? Why can't you hear them? Here's why.
Hey, I hope you're enjoying this video, and I want to let you know that I have a new book that's come out, and if you'd like to get it absolutely free, there's a link below in the description, or you can wait till the end of this video, or you can simply go to joesfreebook.com and you can get a copy there.
Nothing is personal to them. Nothing has their ass on the line. Nothing is exposing them. If I share my dreams with you and you share your dreams with me, that's automatic exposure. Automatic, because it puts you in a really vulnerable place. If you share your dreams with me and how you got your ass kicked the whole way, look, not only are we one, we become one, you and me, this mirror effect. I'm now going to fight for your dreams. Isn't that crazy to think of? I'm now going to get on board with you and fight for your dreams. If the politicians learn this, they'll be dangerous, right? If the news people, if they learn this, they're going to be dangerous. And they come to me, these groups all the time to train. And I always say no, because here's the thing. Storytelling, just so you know, it works. And it has worked since time. But it also works if you're out for good, but it works if you're out for evil. I'll give you a couple examples. Hitler, great storyteller, amazing storyteller. Osama bin Laden, amazing storyteller. You found yourself inside the story they were telling at the time they told that story. That's how they got people to do what they wanted to do. I mean, in certain cases, a lot of people, right? So I know the effect of storytelling. And whenever that side comes to me, I say absolutely not, because I know the effect that they can have. Well, you and me, we're out for people, out for helping people, out for making people the greatest they can possibly be. Well, you and me better be armed with our own personal story so that we can have people follow us, trust us, and we can make or help make their dreams realized. And that's what we're here to do.
Yeah. Well, and things like caring, or just like in street language, like giving a crap, right? It's got to be real. I mean, you have longstanding relationships in business and with big firms, teaching financial advisors the kind of stuff we're talking about. And the thing I always say in my advisory work around coaching founders and advising founders about their original incident, about the transparency required to create connection, is you're not telling your story as a strategy or a tactic. It is, if you tell it as a tactic, I think it falls apart immediately, because people hear the financial incentive behind why you would even tell it. But like everyone in this room is, there's all different businesses in Joe's group, as you know, but everybody here is in business to help their clients in some way, and they care very much about what they do. And I think telling a story from a point of caring is when it really matters. And to your point, there's emotions, there's at stake, but doing anything, whether any emotional position or expression or any story as a tactic, I think just loses all its capability. Would you agree?
100%. People are really smart. They smell a rat in about 2 seconds. You walk on the stage or you come on camera, they smell a rat. Like you're like, you have some preamble before you start. That's kind of a manipulation. Like you want them, you know what I'm going to do today? I'm going to make the audience feel this way. Well, that's not your job to manipulate the way they feel. Your job is to expose yourself so they can drop their guard. Especially now. Think about it. Think about the lack of trust that we have. They won't even listen to you. They will walk away as soon as they smell that inauthenticity. And if you're not willing to expose, your dreams and your family's dreams and what you're about, in an honest, straight up way, they're going to walk away. But if you do tell a story and you share yourself, and I'm not saying you have to be a perfect speaker. I'm certainly not, make every mistake in the book, but at least I'm giving my all, that gets rewarded. And I'll tell you what, I was told this the other day, there's one thing rewarded in our lifetime: courage. Courage is always rewarded, and it has been since time. Well, manipulating people and keeping people at bay from you, like keeping a distance from people, that's got no courage to it. Yeah. But dropping your guard and allowing them in to your life, and them allowing you into theirs and exposing your weaknesses, that's true courage. Like a warrior enters the ring, and what's the first thing a warrior does? He puts his shield to the side, his sword to the other side, and exposes his heart or her heart, and stands there in front of the enemy and goes, you know what? If you're going to take my heart, go ahead. But I'm going to be here. I'm going to be standing. Yeah. Always rewarded. So if you're trying to guard your heart, and we usually do this in a physical way by doing this with our hands. If you guys can see my hands. You'll see people speak and they'll do this with their hands. And this is an unnatural human move unless you're trying to protect your heart. Don't do this. First thing, the only people who do this, by the way, Michael, are public speakers who are trying to protect themselves, or weathermen and women. If you notice your local weathermen and women, the first thing they do is they go, hello. Well, in Los Angeles today, it's going to rain. It never rains in Los Angeles, but I'm going to protect my heart just in case. And you don't trust the weatherman, the weatherwoman anymore. As soon as somebody takes the stage and goes, hi, my name is Bo Eason. I'm going to be your speaker today. This is speaking so much louder than my voice. This is saying everything you need to know about Bo. Oh, Bo doesn't trust himself. And he's afraid we're going to have judgment on him and break his little heart into pieces. Therefore, I don't trust a man who doesn't trust himself. So you guys, courage is the thing that's always rewarded. So if you're about to fall apart before the camera turns on, or you just are like, have no confidence when you walk out on stage, I don't care. I love it, because that's a courageous act to begin with. And that's the only, and that's the last connective tissue that we have left in our lifetimes. So we better use it. We better use our humanity to reconnect a world that will not trust each other.
I love it. I love it so much. And full disclosure, one of the gentlemen in the room today nailed me very compassionately for kind of like playing with my hands in front of my body like half the morning. So what you're saying resonates 100%.
Yeah, my clients, Michael, my clients bust me all the time at my own training. Like, I'll put my hands in my pockets. Like, if we're having a beer in a bar after the training, I'm like, got one hand on a beer and one hand in my pocket. And they're like, hey man, why are you apologizing? Why you got your hand in your pocket? So
yeah.
it's just it's a physical thing that we all do as human beings to subtly apologize for our own power. And this is just what I don't want anymore for anybody to do. I don't mind the non-courageous doing it, because they don't have any courage anyway. But when the people that I work with, or the people that you work with, Michael, or the people that Joe works with, I don't want them apologizing for anything, because we're out there fighting for the good of people, of the best of people.
Yeah. So wonderful. You know, let's talk for a few minutes about what it means to be the best. And as you know, this is a group of high achievers, and a lot of people in here are among the best or the best at what they do. Sometimes it's hard to know who's among the best and who's the best, right? We actually have another, other than yourself, another world-class athlete in the room here in Arizona, which is Whitney Jones, who was just for the third time crowned Ms. Fitness Olympia. So, and we acknowledged her earlier, and we talked a little bit about the ironclad mindset that enables mastery of the physical self, right? Yeah. It reminded me of the story you've told many times in front of your group, where I've had the honor to be present and participate a few times. And you referenced it before about your high school. For all the years before, all the years since, nobody's been to nobody made it to a pro sport, certainly not to the NFL or maybe any other league. But when you were there were, and maybe with your brother Tony as well, but certainly your mindset and your commitment to what your plan was elevated some people around you, right? And so that happens in a business also, I would suggest, right? But what is the dynamic when you are ironclad about what is going to be happening in your future? What is the dynamic that elevates the people around you, either to a similar goal, or even more like tangibly to this group, in a business, and people get on board that train? And, it's like Francis Ford Coppola says, the biggest challenge in making a movie is getting everyone to make the same movie. Yeah. Right. So it's like, how does your ironclad mindset, or how did it and how does it elevate those around you?
Yeah, it's so true. That is 100% true. So in my case, the story that Michael referenced, I went to a high school that had like 280 kids. It was a little country farm, all farmers' kids, right, that went to school there. So I played football. 27 farm boys were on my high school football team, right? And there's never been a pro athlete of any kind come from my high school in 100 years. Not before I got there, not since I left, right? So there's never been one. And the odds of playing pro football are 0.03%. 0.03% high school football players play pro football, right? So the odds aren't great. But the high school I went to, who never had any kind of athlete in 100 years, four of the 27, which is statistically impossible, all played pro football, and two of them played in the Super Bowl. 4 guys out of 27 with the odds of 0.03 of every high school football player. That was the odds, right? So how do you explain that? And I was shocked. I didn't even think anything of it. I just thought that most people played pro football. I didn't realize that the statistics were so bad. I didn't realize that there was no way I was playing pro football, and there was no way my brother was, and there was no way 2 of my best friends were. But it happened. So I asked them, and I asked the rest of the team, why did this happen? This is at a 30-year career, a 30-year reunion, Michael. So we're at a 30-year reunion. I went around to the guys, and I said, why did this happen? This is a statistical impossibility. And they all said the same thing. They all said it was that damn plan that you were walking around with. I carried around, and some of you have seen it, a plan that is 50 years old now, 51 years old now, and it says that I'm to be the best safety in the world, right? But no one thought that was going to happen, but I just kept saying it and saying it. And at the 30-year reunion, what happened was these guys said, well, I just thought, you weren't the biggest player, you weren't our best player, but you were committed to this piece of paper. And so they said to themselves, well, shit, if Bo, being the size that he is going to play pro football, then I certainly am too. And so that drug 3 guys who maybe wouldn't have thought of it on to play in the NFL against those odds. So I thought to myself after those 30 years, like, damn, I'm going to do the same thing again. I'm going to do it again. I'm going to keep doing it. I'm going to keep telling people my dream, even though it's impossible. And what I have found out is people go with you. They go with you wherever you're going. Now, your dream might be different than other people, but they see that you're kind of unreasonable about your own dream. And you've got a loyalty not to the culture and not to the odds of you achieving it, but you have a loyalty to the piece of paper. And I have found that if you just stay loyal to that instead of, what the odds tell you or what people tell you or what the news media might tell you, then that dream, you will end up with a gold medal around your neck. And then what the most shocking part of it all, Michael, is so will the people closest to you. The people will eliminate themselves, of course, from your presence. They will, because that ain't easy. That gold medals are just not easy, as you all know. Being an entrepreneur and reaching the very pinnacle, that ain't easy. There's a lot of skinned knees, there's a lot of bloody noses, and there's a lot of people who extricate themselves from you. But if you hang in there and you stay loyal to that original vision, that original dream, not only will you have a gold medal around your neck, everybody you admire and respect will have one too. And I said that, that's the coolest thing ever. So, and then Michael, let me just say this one thing too. And it's true of my life. It's true of everybody's life that's ever done this. So my son, Axel, he's 14 now, so he's a freshman in high school. So we took him out of the high school he was in and put him in one that the most elite athletes are at, right? Because his dream, his ultimate dream is to be, if his dream is going to come true, you guys, he's going to have to end up being maybe the best athlete we've ever had, if it's to come true. So if he's around people who are better than him and are a step and a half ahead of him, I know that's going to be painful for him. It's going to be painful for me and my wife and, you know, the rest of the family. But if that's his dream, that's the only way to get there. Because if he's the best athlete at 14 at his high school, he ain't going to make it. Because he goes to a high school called Sierra Canyon. So LeBron James's kid is on that basketball team. Dwayne Wade's kid is on that basketball team. Scottie Pippen's kid is on their basketball team. And now Axel, a 14-year-old, is going to be standing among them and getting his butt kicked right at the age of 14. But what does it look like for him at the age of 21? You can't be the best, you guys, at 14. You've got to surround yourself with a demanding situation. That's the only way, right? And that's why this group is so great. And that's why, Michael, your group is the same way. When you go into Genius Network and you go into Consumer Health Summit, you go in and now you're sitting in tall, what my dad used to call tall cotton. He goes, boy, I want you standing in tall cotton. And when you're standing in tall cotton, you got to rise to the occasion or you're going to get stickers all on you. You got to rise above and you got to be, that's a demanding situation. And it's the only situation that's going to demand you adapt. If you're the best in the room, you're the smartest in the room, you know, you can't, your body will not adapt. Well, what's the one thing us human beings are the best in the world at? Automatically, naturally. We have proved over time that we're the best at adaptation to demanding situations, whether that's weather or lack of food or lack of mates. You and me know how to adapt. So for me, I wish my kid had an easier time, but he should have chosen an easier dream. But now he is getting his butt kicked by guys who are better than him, who are faster than him, who are bigger than him. So what is that demand of my son? He's got to rise. He's got to adapt to the demanding situation that his dream requires. Well, now let's look at us. Let's look at us. Let's look at our jobs. If you're the best and you're shoulder to shoulder and you look and you left, I'm in Consumer Health Summit. Oh shit, there's Ann Shippey over there. Oh shit, there's, Dr. Mark Harmon over there. You're like, damn, I didn't know shit. I thought I knew. I don't know anything now. Now that I'm standing among this, but I got to rise and my body will adapt. And now I'll be better walking out of here. That's what you must surround yourself with, but it is the most humiliating thing in the world to do. But it's the only way to get to the top. And then I'll finish with this. Once you're there, once you're at the top, and every Olympic champion knows this, you're no longer at the top. Once you're at the top, you're just at the bottom of the next summit, right? Because there's some young person or some smarter person or somebody's willing to outwork you right on your tail. And that's the beauty of this thing. I'm not saying it's like the funnest, if funnest is a word. It's not the funnest life, right? But I think it's what we're made to do. And it's a life worth living. And that's the best. The beauty of the best, Michael, is you just never get there.
Well, right. Unless you're in a competition where somebody actually wins or has the points or whatever. And I want to leave room for a couple of questions, as long as you have time, Bo.
Yeah.
But just one question for practicality's sake for this group, and you kind of touched on it, but like, there's people in this group from maybe their late 20s at the youngest to their late 70s at the oldest, and like every decade in between. And you've heard the phrase, "Don't try to be better than other people. Just be better than yourself." Right? Like just get better than you were yesterday. Right? Is that is that worth sort of heeding? You know, and because look, we're these are entrepreneurs and founders. You know, what is the practical application of being the best, other than to elevate yourself?
Yeah, I mean, you're right, Michael. I mean, it's like, for me, being that, you know, all of us have survived this long because our ancestors were the ultimate competitors, right? So we have that blood in us. We're ultimate competitors. It's you know, if you look at the first rule of biology, the first rule of biology is competition, right? So we're not, I know that word is kind of frowned upon these days, but I kind of like it. And I like that it's being frowned upon. And we know how to compete. We know how to compete for mates, for food, for shelter. We have it in us. So a lot of times that's not against another person, right? It's against yourself. I always put somebody in front of me. Like if that's a football player or an author that I admire or a speaker that I look up to, I go, I want to be better than her. I want to be better than them. And I start to compete, no different than an athlete would compete, right? Then eventually, given enough time and effort, I pass them. And then you know what I do? I start competing against my last performance. Like Tom Brady, who is he competing against? He's only competing against his performance last week or the last Super Bowl, because there's no one in his stratosphere. And by the way, he's the oldest dude. So he's playing, Michael, and I think you just touched on it. And I didn't think of this until now. He's playing the game you're talking about playing. He's playing a whole different game. All those other guys in the National Football League, all 1,500, they're playing this game of football, trying to win, right? And some are trying to be famous, and some are trying to get a big contract. He's not playing those games. He's playing a game that he is the last man standing, right? And that's a different game. The rest of them, they're not really playing that game. They're trying to get attention, trying to build Instagram accounts. He's not playing that game. He's playing the ultimate game, which is he's going to win. And it's funny because he does win. And he wins with teams that shouldn't win. So if you start to study what he's doing, Michael, and I think you just touched upon this. I'm just going to name it, and I'll shut up. He's doing something that the rest of the world is really not doing, and I admire this about him. Think about this. He's doing what he's actually doing. There's 32 quarterbacks in the NFL. They're great. They're elite. They're awesome. My brother was one of them, and a lot of my best friends were them, okay? These guys are great guys. These guys are freaking talented, and they are driven, and they are leaders from the word go. I think Tom Brady is the only guy doing what he's doing, which is playing the position of quarterback. I think the other 31, and I'm not saying they're not great, I think the other 31 are doing something other than they're playing quarterback to get something, to have something, whether it's money, fame, girls, the perks that come with being a quarterback, the wardrobe, the Instagram accounts. They're playing a different game than he's playing, which is the only reason why he can win at such an ancient age. I mean, he's 44 years old, you guys. That's an impossibility that he's the best player in the league. At 44 years, that's like 100 to you and me. Right? Yeah. He's not, you guys, he's not a great athlete. He ain't the best athlete out there. That's for damn sure. But he is, you never see him on commercials, very rarely. You never see him promoting this or that and all this kind of nonsense. He is playing the position of quarterback. Do you know what the number one thing And this goes to you and me. Do you know what the number one thing that you have to have to be a quarterback in the NFL? Do you know what the number one thing is? This goes for you and me. Trustworthiness. Trustworthiness. That is the number one quality of an NFL quarterback. He is the most trustworthy to the people around him. They trust he's going to lead them to victory. What if you and me, what if the thing we had most, and I can say this 100% for you, Michael, trustworthiness is the thing that people are attracted to about you because it's predictable what my life, Bo's life, is going to be like if I'm with Michael Fishman. You can see that, right, Michael? You're not bragging. You're just saying, yeah, your life, Bo, is going to be predictable if you're around me. If we're buddies or I'm a client or we're just we're in a partnership, it is very predictable what happens to Bo's life. That's called trustworthiness, you guys. No one has this anymore. No one has it because they're not playing the ultimate game. Tom Brady, Michael Fishman make everybody around them great. Right? And that's what you guys do too. If you think about it, that's why you're successful. You make people around you see their own greatness and they live into it. That's called trustworthiness. That's called a predictable life. That's the life everybody wants right now because everything's too unknown. I want my life to be predictable. Oh, then I'll saddle up with Michael Fishman or Joe Polish or whoever, or Tom Brady. I'll shut up.
You all got this is not about football, right? I mean, no, really. I mean, that's just exquisite. This is a whole territory, Bo, that you and I have. You're such an important messenger, and this is just a new conversation in terms of what you and I have talked about, and I just love it. And just the metaphor for the current game and just bringing it relevant to everybody's life. I hope you got it. I don't care if you hate football. That should have changed. That could have changed your life. That discussion right there. And I want to honor your time. Let's check here and let's check with you, Bo. Do we have time for a couple of questions here?
Yeah, I'm good.
Gina? Yeah. And Timothy, if you can help me with the online group. But are there any, in terms of the people in front of me, is there a question right now for Bo Eason in the room here? Right, not at the moment. What about online, Timothy?
Tony Rose said, is it not true that passion helps you strive to be the best?
Passion, definitely, right? But people always go, I think people get it backwards. They always say, follow your passion. And I always say, no, my passion follows me. I follow my dream. And guess what? That passion haunts me every day. I can't not have it if I'm on my dream. If I'm off course and I'm not following the dream, then the passion leaves, right? I get depressed. I'm like, I don't know what to do with my life. I have no clarity. I have no friends. And then I just right the ship. I get back on the dream or the declaration that I've made. And all of a sudden, the passion is now haunting me again. And that, I think people get it backwards. Follow your passion. No. Follow your dream. Follow your declaration. That passion will haunt you. It will follow you for the rest of your life.
Tim, can I ask you, Bo, can I ask you a follow-up to that?
Yeah.
I don't know about everybody else in the crowd, but this last 18 months has just ground me down. It is so easy to get me off my center these days. And for 50 years before it, I was absolutely unshakable. By the way, it helps to be in that room that you and I are not in right now, Bo, but at Tempe. What do you have to say about that? Because I'm telling you, I am not okay. And as much as I'm an entrepreneur and I own a business and it's doing well, I'm not okay.
Yeah. Tony, the great news is you are not alone, brother. Everybody is in that same boat. Now there's different levels of, what you're talking about, like being checked out or being upset or whatever it is. Me too. And I'm like you, like I'm 60 now, and I've always, no matter what circumstances came up, whether it was surgeries or deaths or, rejection, whatever, I could always right the ship, right? It's a little harder this last 18 months. And I'll tell you, I didn't think we were going to talk about this, but I'm going to say this. And you're the first group that I've ever said this in front of. And I know that I'm 100% right on this. Tony, for 50 years, your instincts, I bet you, and I know we don't have any background, I bet you have raw animal instincts and they are accurate and you're never wrong. Am I right?
Well, if I'm ever wrong, I absolutely am able to adjust.
Yeah, you probably, when you didn't follow your own instincts, you were wrong. That's the only time you were wrong. So, our world in the last 18 months, your gut, Tony, and this is happening to me, it's happening to everybody, it's not being able to articulate it or name it. Your gut is right. Everybody, your gut feeling, 18 months ago when you heard this was happening and you heard that we're going to do this and you hear from government officials and then you watch, all this, news and all this stuff, and your gut is telling you that what they're saying is not what's happening. That's why you're off. You got to get back to trusting your gut, Tony, because I guarantee you it ain't wrong. If all of you went back to trusting your own raw animal instincts, you are never wrong.
Thanks, Bo.
And that's why you feel off, because you're like going, oh, it's like the newscast that are standing in front of a burning building and the reporters in front of it, and they're going like this. It's all peaceful here. Everything's fine here. And you're going like this. This is what your gut is going, oh, so my eyes are lying to me right now, and my gut is lying to me right now. I think that's what's happening, guys. I do. Ladies, you know this with your children. You know when they're in trouble. You know when the phone rings that you're about to get. How do you know that? How do you know when the phone rings? It rings just like it always rings, but you know you're about to get a call that is life and death. How do you know that? It's your gut. It's your gut. Why don't you run the red light? Because your gut is telling you that could be your demise. Don't do it. You're always right, you guys. You're always right. We got to get back to trusting it. I'm telling you, the whole world is like lost, and even the successful people. And even the people, Tony, who are going like this, man, I took this pandemic and I took all the lies and I did well with it. I had a record year. Yeah, I get that. But you're still isolated. You're still feeling alone because your gut is now off kilter for the first time in your life. Because what they're telling you ain't what's happening. And so all of you, take some time. You're right. Just keep knowing you're friggin' right about that gut. You're right. And anytime you don't trust your gut, you get so mad at yourself every time. And then you get off base, which is why a guy for 50 years like you and a guy for 60 years like me is like, is this really? Are my eyes deceiving me? Is my gut deceiving me for the first time ever? No, it's not. They are. Not us. We're right. You got to get on your own side, on your own gut side, your own human instinct, human nature. No way could you and me still be here, Tony, if our ancestors weren't in complete tune with their instincts? And you and me are the same. We're animals. Get back in touch with that, guys.
Bo, you've been so generous today. You know, and you and I are both pinch hitting. You know, but you've been so generous with Joe's community and with this wonderful community that we have in the room and online. What do you have coming up? What should we know about? How can this community be supportive to you?
Oh yeah, that's cool. I do. You know what? I actually have an event. We're doing an in-person event here in California, Michael, for the first time in like 2 years. So we're doing Personal Story Power. You've been to it a couple of times. We're doing it in a couple of weeks, like October 28th, 29th, 30th in La Jolla. And we've got it. I'll make sure if anybody wants to come, we'll open up some seats for you. And then, you know, if you just want to get a hold of us and see what I do, that's boeason.com. It's very simple, boeason.com. You know, if you guys want to get involved with either the BEST program or Personal Story Power, I'd love to have you. Love training Joe's people and Michael's people, so it's always fun.
Yeah, well, I've been to Personal Story Power. Elaine's been through it twice, and she's in the room here as well, Bo.
Hi, Elaine.
And I've had the honor of speaking to your group with the BEST, and Bo has been faculty with Consumer Health Summit on 4 separate occasions, maybe 5. So it's just a wonderful partnership. You're a dear friend, and bigger than that, you know, you're one of the really important messengers in the world. No exaggeration, and so thank you for your flexibility and really making it work to be with us today. I appreciate you, and just, you know, thank you so much. Please give it up for Bo Eason.
Okay, I hope you found that video awesome and useful. So if you want to get a free copy of my book, I want you to click here. And if you want to watch some more videos that'll be useful and awesome, click here. Go ahead. They're over here. Do it now. Come on. Thank you. Watch them.